Welcome, listener. Today, we are undertaking a deep dive into a powerful concept that I think often gets dismissed as just waiting. We're talking about the profound Buddhist notion of Khanti, or patience.
Right. And if you think this is just about not losing your temper in traffic,
Which is hard enough.
which is hard enough, yes, but you'd be wildly underestimating the sources we've compiled. It goes so much deeper.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have ancient verses, teachings, and some pretty dramatic parables that show Khanti not as this passive surrender, but as a really robust active strength.
Almost like a warrior strength.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to understand why the Buddha elevated patience to such a vital position, seeing it as this non-negotiable foundation for a peaceful life and ultimately the path to true wisdom.
What's so fascinating here is how the source material immediately raises the stakes. This isn't just about, good manners or social etiquette.
No.
Khanti is explicitly named as one of the 10 perfections, the paramitas. These are the ultimate qualities a bodhisattva being dedicated to universal enlightenment absolutely must master.
So right away, that tells you this is serious business. It's like spiritual combat training.
It is. That reframing changes the weight of the word entirely.
It really does. It moves from something we should do to something we, must cultivate if we want any kind of deep transformation.
Precisely. It's described in the ancient commentaries as this quiet, internalized strength. It's the firewall that prevents the mind from being enslaved by that cycle of suffering, the one caused by resentment, anger, and just reacting to everything.
The ability to stay still inside when the outside world is just chaos.
That's it.
Okay, so if it's an active strength, we really need to define Khanti precisely. Because the sources are clear, it goes far beyond the typical English idea of just waiting your turn or tolerance.
Right. The core insight is that Khanti is defined as endurance, forbearance, and acceptance. Acceptance in the face of difficulty, pain, criticism, or delay.
But the key distinction is that it's not passive resignation, right? It's not just giving up.
Not at all. That's the most critical point. It is an active choice. You're mindfully engaging with life's challenges and transforming them into opportunities for inner stability.
So it's not about just bottling up the impulse to get angry. It's more like choosing a new response so consciously that the anger doesn't even have a chance to take root.
That's the mechanism, exactly. This whole practice is rooted in a profound understanding of impermanence, the realization that everything changes. Discomfort, pain, hardship, it all passes.
And when we react with that instant anger, we're basically fighting the nature of reality.
You're fighting the fundamental nature of existence. Khanti is the acceptance of what is, but it's coupled with mindfulness, and that immediately breaks the cycle of suffering.
And this must require a deep dismantling of the ego. I mean, the natural impulse is to defend, to retaliate, to demand fairness when we feel wronged.
It absolutely does. The ego operates on pride, and pride needs instant validation. The sources suggest that this necessity letting go of that self-protective pride is why Khanti is often called the most difficult perfection to master.
You have to stop personalizing every single challenge,
Yeah.
every insult, every delay.
You have to learn to absorb the attack without it ever reaching the core of who you are.
Okay, so if the goal is spiritual mastery, how high does the Buddha actually set the bar for this? It feels like we're moving from a manageable concept to an almost impossible standard.
That is exactly where the ancient texts take us. They call patience Khanti the highest austerity.
The highest austerity.
And that's a critical insight because it places mental discipline above practices like extreme fasting or intense physical denial, which were really common at the time.
That just re-ranks the whole spiritual hierarchy.
Yeah.
Why is staying calm when you're in a greater achievement than, say, not eating for a week?
Because physical penance, it often relies on muscle memory or just finite pain endurance. You can train your body to withstand a lot.
Right.
Emotional endurance, on the other hand, requires continuous conscious engagement with the mind. You have to actively starve that reactive ego again and again, moment by moment. It's a constant, subtle internal war.
It never stops.
It never stops. And the Dhammapada, essential collection of the Buddha's sayings, it clarifies this perfectly in verse 399.
What does it say?
It says, "He who is not angry though he has cause to be, who patiently endures abuse, bondage, and punishment, that one is a true sage."
So that confirms it. Patience is the ultimate measure of spiritual integrity.
It is.
And to really get the level of commitment this demands, the texts have that powerful Jataka tale of the patient sage, a story from a past life of the Buddha. This one takes endurance to the absolute extreme.
It's a profound, if challenging, illustration of spiritual courage. The tale describes the Buddha to be born as a wandering ascetic, known only for teaching the perfection of
And
patience.
he's just sitting peacefully under a tree.
Yes, and he's discovered by this arrogant, intoxicated king who demands a practical demonstration of patience right there, right then.
The king mocks him, right?
Wrong.
He questions how just being still could possibly be a virtue.
Exactly. And when the sage just maintains his calm, this state of non-reaction and forgiveness, the king gets enraged. He begins to cruelly torture the sage. He starts cutting off his limbs one by one, demanding to know what he was teaching now.
That is intense.
And the response defines Khanti at its absolute limit. Even in immense agony, the sage did not retaliate. And critically, he felt no hatred. He just offered forgiveness and compassion.
He understood that hating back would just lock them both into more suffering.
Right. His inner peace remained untouched, even as his body was being violated.
Okay, I have to pause here because this raises a really critical question for anyone listening. This extreme example could sound like a call for passive compliance, in the face of real violence or abuse.
A very important distinction to make.
How do the sources separate this inner courage from just encouraging submission to injustice?
That is the essential distinction. The story's function isn't to prescribe behavior in the face of a physical threat. Self-preservation, defense, that's paramount. The story's function is to highlight the internal state of non-retaliation.
So the physical act is a metaphor.
It's a metaphor for any pain, an insult, a loss, a physical ailment. It shows that the true attack is when we let that external pain destroy our internal peace.
So the lesson is, we might defend the body, but we are 100% responsible for defending the mind. Our inner peace can't be taken unless we give it away.
Exactly. It's an example of ultimate spiritual sovereignty. The sage's lesson is that hatred only breeds more hatred. The only way out is through patient, immovable compassion.
Okay, so let's bring this down from the ascetic on the path to Buddhahood to, us, the ordinary person in the 21st century. How does this silent strength apply to the everyday life of a commuter, a parent, a colleague?
It applies everywhere. The texts encourage us to see daily life as a constant training ground. We can sort of categorize this training into 3 fields, starting with our interactions with other people. Patience with others. It arises when we view their flaws and their mistakes through a lens of compassion, acknowledging that every single being is struggling with something, fighting their own inner battle we know nothing about.
We lose patience when others are rude or slow, because we just see them as an obstacle to what we want in that moment. We stop seeing them as a person.
Exactly. And this is where the Buddha taught that patience is the absolute foundation of genuine love. Without it, love just becomes conditional attachment. It demands the other person behave exactly as we want.
When we're patient, we give them the space to be imperfect.
You do. The texts remind us of the strength required. They quote the teaching. Just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so let one cultivate a boundless love towards all beings.
That level of protection is an act of persistent, patient acceptance.
It is. We're taught not to expect perfection from others, but to meet their imperfection with profound understanding.
Which brings us squarely to the second training ground, daily life. The endless stream of minor irritations. These are the small battles that wear us down.
Absolutely. The practice of everyday Khanti is choosing to breathe instead of honking in a traffic jam you can't control.
It's that pause when your partner or colleague says something irritating and you just listen instead of immediately firing back a response.
Or when your computer crashes right before a deadline, that instantaneous flare-up of frustration, that is the moment you're training for.
Every one of those moments is a little dojo.
It's a valuable training ground. The sources emphasize that these small acts of non-reaction are steps toward inner freedom because we are consciously choosing a response over an automated, ego-driven reaction. We're building a new habit.
So if the external world is a training ground, I think the hardest kind of patience, which the texts do address, is patience with ourselves, the forgotten kindness.
This is often the critical hurdle. We expect fast results in our own growth. We feel immense guilt when we fail. We judge our own thoughts so harshly. We try to rush the process.
We are so much harder on ourselves than we would ever be on a friend who is struggling.
The Buddha encouraged gentle effort, not self-violence. True patience with oneself means accepting that growth is a long, non-linear path. The commentary offers huge relief here, quoting Dhammapada, verse 122. Little by little, a person becomes good as a water pot is filled drop by drop.
Drop by drop.
This patience means sitting with our own wounds and imperfections without rushing to judge them or force a correction. It means forgiving ourselves again and again.
When we become our own compassionate friend, patience blooms.
It does. It allows us to maintain effort without that destructive self-criticism.
It feels like that internal battle for self-patience has to be won before you can even authentically approach being patient with others.
It's a fundamental groundwork, and we see this illustrated so vividly in the practice of meditation, which is maybe the most intense training in self-patience there is.
Oh, absolutely. Even when we sit down to meditate, impatience just burns bright. We want immediate peace, bliss, clarity, but the reality is often just a racing mind and the urge to get up.
Right. The Buddha taught that meditation isn't about chasing those experiences. It's about staying, watching, and gently returning every time the mind wanders. That simple, non-judgmental act of returning is strengthening Khanti.
When pain arises in the body, you don't run, you observe.
When thoughts attack, you don't fight them. You just see them for what they are, impermanent mental formations. Patience here is truly the still warrior strength. It's soft, but it's immovable.
And it prepares us for the storms of daily life by training us to create that gap between stimulus and response.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, patience is intrinsically linked to trust in karma, the law of cause and effect. We plant seeds of kindness, but when the fruits don't ripen immediately, we get frustrated. We question the whole practice.
Which is so natural in our world of instant feedback and one-click everything. We expect an immediate reward.
Deeply flawed when it comes to spiritual causality. The Buddha explained that karma unfolds based on countless conditions. The texts refer to the Majjhima Nikaya. Just as seeds do not sprout the next day, good karma may not bear fruit immediately.
So patience means we keep planting the seeds, kindness, mindfulness, without demanding that immediate reward. We have to trust the timing of the universe.
That faith calms our hearts, and it ensures we stay on the path. Because the final form of patience discussed is the endurance required for the entire path to liberation itself.
Enlightenment is not a weekend project.
Not at all. It takes continuous, enduring effort. The journey is long, full of ups, downs, insights, setbacks. Patience allows us to stay steady. As the commentary reminds us, the journey continues with 1,000 patience steps.
So what does this all mean? In a world that glorifies speed, instant results, quick reactions, Khanti is truly revolutionary. It's the tool that transforms suffering into wisdom, anger into compassion, and chaos into clarity. It gives us the sovereignty to meet life with grace.
The silent power of endurance is, in the end, our sharpest tool. It's effective precisely because it relies on internal strength, not external conditions. Remember that final, beautiful lesson from the sources. The one who does not retaliate in anger shines like the full moon in a cloudless sky.
That is a powerful image to hold on to. We hope this deep dive encourages you to cultivate Khanti in your own hearts and homes, for you to mull over. The forces state, he who is patient even in pain walks with the Buddha. What immediate small area of your life, maybe the daily commute, maybe a difficult coworker, or maybe, most importantly, that inner critical voice, can you apply this kind of silent endurance to today? Thank you for diving deep with us.